this inquiry. That's why I was a little aghast by the statement of Senator Alan kanina when he was delivering his own privileged speech, is that konti pa lang daw. You know, I have here some transcript of exactly what he said. Bakit po napakarami ng pinapatay ngayon? Actually po, hindi marami, konti pa. What is the threshold?
Yeah.
How many more killings are we willing to bear? How many more killings do we need to see before we act? What is the threshold? Is it hundreds, thousands, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000? We don't have to wait for that. As expressed by Senator Riza earlier, one dead body is just one too many. Particularly the cases of mistaken identity, the cases of just being there at the wrong place at the wrong time. There are more and more cases of that. And I was also a bit aghast also when the point about we should instead attend to other urgent matters, not this inquiry being proposed by Senator De Lima. What could be more urgent than looking into these killings, particularly of the innocent ones? I don't see that point. Although I do agree that we need also to focus on measures that will strengthen the criminal justice system. I do agree that it's because of the general frustration of the people that there seem to be, apathy and a sort of a general acceptance of what is happening. That's exactly the same environment, atmosphere, at the time that the DTS phenomenon was there. That's why CHR had to investigate.
It's also possible that people might just be waiting for a provocation, a spark, like perhaps your speech.
As I mentioned in my speech, there may not be a general outrage yet, but we could also already see some undercurrents, some sentiments already. And that's why I had to highlight the fact that there is this group of UP students, no position, no power, but they took the initiative. They're doing that, demonstrating they started this hashtag cardboard justice. They're not in any position. They don't have power. They don't, they're just ordinary students, and yet they're acting. But what about us? So I actually emphasize that.
Did you choose the date? Did you choose to speak today, August 2?
Well, I did intend to deliver a privileged speech as a prelude to the Senate inquiry, because my proposed resolution was referred to my own committee as the primary committee, Committee on Justice and Human Rights, and as a second committee, the Committee on Public Order and Illegal Drugs, chaired by Senator Ping Lacson. So I thought that should be preceded, the formal holding of the Senate inquiry should be preceded by a privileged speech. So I've been mulling over this, although the initial focus, supposedly the only focus of the intended privileged speech, is supposed to be this spate of summary killings. But I had to inject some matters of personal privilege because of the relentless vicious attacks being hurled against me, especially through the social media.
Well, we'd like to ask questions also about that. We want to cluster the questions about the social media campaign against you. Social media, online and offline, I would say. But can we scroll down the prompter, please? I'd like to ask, I think question number 3, from Jerome Toledo. This is related to resolution number 9. You're conducting an inquiry soon. Is this political since you are part of LP and the legislative leaders are PDP Laban?
Not at all. A matter as important as this, as serious as this, should transcend any political consideration. And is the farthest from my mind doing things with political objective. I'm not that one. I'm not that kind of a
That's also my question,
servant, public servant.
ma'am. Why you're now obviously at the forefront of the campaign against the summary killings resulting from the anti-drug campaign. Why are you doing this despite the backlash? You know,
It's the right
despite
thing to do. I could have stayed, go with the tide. Also, keep mum
Yeah.
about it, and especially in light of this relentless, persistent, vicious attacks. All sorts of dirt being thrown at me, especially, and masakit yan eh. Na ang tawag sa'yo, drug lord cuddler, protector, tumatanggap sa mga convicts. And just to put a stop to it, hindi na sana ako gagalaw, hindi na sana ako magsasalita. But this is the right thing to do.
It's
So let's do
very
it.
it's very interesting, ma'am, you mentioned in your speech about the things that you've done with Bilibid when you were still the Justice Secretary. I do remember that we had a Justice reporter and she would sometimes text us in the middle of the night. There would be a raid in Bilibid. They would be confiscating a lot of things. It's true. I think a lot of people forgot that it was during your term that you started those kinds of things.
Sabi ko nga, binabaliktad na nila lahat. Bakit ganon? Ako nga nagsimula niyan. And, kinasuhan pa nga ako ng mga yan. Until now, those cases are still pending, including an anti-graft case before the Ombudsman filed by one of those Bilibid 19. One or two of those Bilibid 19 inmates. Anti-graft daw because I had no authority daw to transfer them from Bilibid temporarily to the NBI detention facility. And, nandyan yung death threats.
Yeah.
And in fact, right now, there's still the security threat coming from them.
I can only...
And then ito ngayon ang napapala ko.
You're now in cahoots with them.
Bigla ako naging protector nila. It's so unfair. It's crazy.
Ma'am, I want to respond to that. I have a question specifically about that. Why are they doing this?
I don't know. Well, marami naman sigurong pwedeng dahilan. Maybe they don't want this Senate inquiry to push through for some reason.
That's why.
Is it possibly connected to what you mentioned earlier, yung death penalty bill?
I don't know. Hindi pa naman siguro. Baka ito lang nga. Because ang perspective kasi nila, ang mindset nila is that kung iimbestigahan yan, then mawawala yung momentum ng law enforcers. Ano sila ngayon? Highly motivated sila ngayon with the backing of the powers that be. So kung iimbestigahan daw, madedemoralize or that would dampen their resolve. I actually disagree. Kasi kaya nga gusto ko po na magkaroon ng inquiry na to para alamin natin yung buong sitwasyon. Alamin natin ano ba may problema ba talaga? Bakit ganon? May mga namamatay na hindi nalalaman kung ano yung dahilan. Basta sasabihin na lang it's either ng laban, ng agaw, o yung mga lalo na yung mga cases of salvaging.
Yeah.
Na mga hindi alam kung mga sino-sino gumagawa niyan. Nasusunod ba yung mga dapat sundin sa batas, sa mga patakaran, sa mga operational guidelines? Ginagawa ba ng mga relevant authorities, particularly internal affairs unit? That was a good point raised actually by Senator Dick Gordon. He pointed to a particular law which actually mandates that whenever somebody is killed, there is a casualty in a law enforcement operations, automatic dapat na iniimbestigahan. Ganon din kasi sa other jurisdictions, like the United States. So, tatanungin ho natin yan sa inquiry. Ginagawa ba yan ng Internal Affairs Unit? May kulang ba sa kapasidad nila, sa resources nila, sa mga tao nila na gawin yung trabaho nila? So, kasama po, dapat yan lahat. That's why they should welcome this inquiry. Gusto ko lang makatulong na above board ang mga yan, alam yung ginagawa ng mga law enforcers para hindi na-taint yung buong kampanya against drugs. Yun po naman ang pinakapunto. So, bakit tayo magiging paranoid na kung ano na yung mga iniisip? Na hindi naman po yun yung pakay ko.
I'm trying hard to think of a previous instance na the Speaker of the House actually pinpointed a senator of the Republic and said we want to investigate her. Tapos kasama pa yung Justice Secretary and now also the Solicitor General.
That's why I had to raise it personal and collective privilege. It is certainly in breach of interparliamentary courtesy. But as I said nga, hindi naman yun ang pinaka-defense ko. Gusto ko sila mismo, mga kapwa ko senador mismo, ang mag-raise niyan. Not in defense of Leila de Lima, but in defense of the institution. Hindi dapat naman talaga nila yan ginagawa basta-basta na lang. Because we are co-equal institutions. Interparliamentary courtesy. And then look at that. Hindi lang naman si Speaker ang tumitira sa akin, kung ano-ano mga insinuations. Si Solicitor General and the latest is the Secretary of Justice. These are the President's men. Now, what am I supposed to think and say about that? Now, these are the President's men trying to discredit a sitting senator.
Senator, that's the question now. You were saying, when you said a while ago that you don't know what they or them, what they're up to, who are you referring to? Do you know who is behind this campaign to discredit you?
Alam nyo, sinabi ko rin po yun. I'm actually giving them, the President's men, the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I suspect na meron mga elemento dyan na sila ang nag-feed, nagsusupply ng mga kasinungalingan na yan. Those fabricated lies, those manufactured lies. Yung mga tungkol dyan, yung mga, cuddler ako, nakikipag-jamming ako sa mga
drug lords, nakikipag-party ako sa kanila, tumatanggap daw ako sa kanila. This must be coming from whoever, yung parang mahirap naman kasi magturo. So you're not yet sure on who it is?
I'm not sure, but
have you considered the possibility that it came from like higher office, like Malacanang?
I wouldn't say that at this point. I wouldn't say that. In fact, sana hindi nakakarating yung mga ganyan sa Pangulo. O sana, kung nakakarating po sa kanya, sana hindi siya naniniwala. Kasi I call them agents of vengeance. It could be any of those or some of those na natapakan ho natin. Alam nyo na, ang dami naman natin hinandle ng mga high-profile cases noon, or it could be a confluence of all of this. Ano-ano sila. There may not be a deliberate grouping together and out to get me, but it just happened na nagkaroon na sila ng commonality.
An opportunity, perhaps. Yeah.
Commonality of objective to get me.
Senator, maybe just one more question about this drug lord cuddler thing. No, we have a reader with a question. It might sound a little unfair, but maybe it will give you an opportunity to convince this guy. No, aside from the death threats that you've received, no, how can you convince us that you are not? Sorry, prompter, please go up. Number 11. How can you convince us that you are not the protector of the big-scale drug lords? sorry, but from Chochi Kizo.
May I just tell you, straight, if you're here, whoever he is a male, kung
It's hard to
nandito
tell
po kayo
from
sa
the...
harap ko, I will look at you straight in the eye and I will tell you that's a complete lie. Why should I be a cuddler of this? Sinabi ko na po kanina, ako nga po yung nag-grade sa kanila, ako yung nagpahirap sa kanila, ako yung nag-isolate sa kanila. I mean, kinasuhan nila ako. And then now, I'm a cuddler. And then, yun, lininis naman po ang Bilibid. Hindi pa completely malinis, pero there have been successive operations, galugad, under the former director and the current director, Director Rainier Cruz. Ako po nagsimula na lahat niyan.
And you said something in your privilege speech about not finding something.
Yeah. The Shabula, I had to say that kasi madalas po natin
Umiikot yan eh.
madalas po natin naririnig yan, merong Shabulab. Yun nga po ang unang pinahanap ko nung nag-grade kami kasi narinig ko na rin po yan na meron di umano Shabulab mismo sa loob. So we had to look for it in that first major raid and in the successive raids until now, nakailan na hong raid under the Operation Galugad. Wala naman pong nahahanap na Shabulab. Because you know, it's unless each and every soul in that penitentiary are in cahoots with each other, hindi naman ho basta-basta matatago yung Shabulab na aamoy syempre yan. So there is no such thing. Kasi, anong naging problema sa Bilibid? Because these drug convicts were controlling the drug trade from within. They need not manufacture those drugs from within. If they have to manufacture those drugs, it would be in volumes. You know, ano nangyayari? May ilan-ilan na nakakapasok ng mga sachet-sachet, you know, dahil sa pakikipagkuntsaba sa mga prison guards, na madali naman kasi silang mga nabibili, nababribe. You know, nakakapasok ilan-ilan for the personal use of drug inmates who are drug addicts, also are users within. Pero to say na nanggagaling ang droga sa loob at yun ang binibenta sa labas, minamanufacture pa, they don't need that kasi nga dati nang may mga drugs sa labas. Di ba yung sinasabi ng Pangulo na these drugs come from somewhere else?
From somewhere else.
From another country. Kaya nga ini-insist niya, wala daw drug lord, wala daw big time drug lord, na hindi pa ako masyadong nag-a-agree doon. Depende ho siguro sa perspective.
I sympathize with the former Justice Secretary and our colleague kung pinagbibintangan siya na wala namang facts. Hindi ko po alam. Pinakinggan ko lang yung sinabi niya. Kung gumagawa ng conclusion na mali, I sympathize with her. At kung attack to sa Senado, hindi dapat. Pero, nung sinabi niya, 7-year-old nagra-rugby, and then sasabihin niya, binarel ng polis, wala pa naman ako nababalitaan na polis na binarel ang 7-year-old na nagra-rugby. Di ba? Yung sabihin 9 years old, etc., no? Hindi ko alam yung circumstance niya. At never sinabi ng ating Pangulo na kapag ka may summary killing or murder ay hindi paparusahan. In fact, ang sinabi niya, patay kayo sa aking mga pulis kayo pag umabuso kayo. At sinabi po niya na palalakasin niya yung internal checks ng police to make sure that not only do they not murder people, but that they're not involved in drugs. Because the reality is, ang PNP mismo ay nagamit din at ginagamit pa rin ng mga pushers. So, our colleague then jumped to conclusions by saying, ganito na karami ang patay sa police operations, pero alam naman natin ng mga police, I have to paraphrase because I didn't write down exactly, but sinasabi niya may rub out din. But isn't that jumping to conclusions? Meron po tayong presumption of regularity. Hindi ko sinasabi na lahat yan regular, pero may presumption. Sabi niya, meron daw dapat presumption of innocence. Eh, hindi ba presumed innocent ang police? Pagka napatay niya yung pusher dahil lumaban, may barel, sabi nung iba, kailangan proportional. Kopong-kopong pa ho yun. Yung sinasabing proportional, hindi na po yan ang standard sa Japan, sa France, sa Europe, sa UK. Ngayon po, nung araw po, pagka binaril ka, may yung pusher o yung kidnapper may barel, nagbaril ka rin, o barilin mo muna to maim. Diba? Maim. So, baril mo sa shoulders, baril mo sa hita para dumapa. Hindi na po ganun yun ngayon. Right now, pag bumunot ka laban sa law enforcers, they can shoot and they can shoot to kill. Bakit? Dahil sa panahon po ngayon ng terorismo, sa panahon po ngayon na sabog, at hindi na nasa tamang issue, nasa tamang pag-iisip, ang mga pusher, hindi mo alam kung magpapasabog yon or kung yung M16 niya, bigla na lang babarilin lahat. So ngayon, bago po ang rule. Kailangan pa rin sabihin, mga pulis kami, NBI kami, PDEA kami, ibaba ang gamit. Raid to, o kaya ito'y bypass operation, kailangan mo pa rin magpakilala. You have to give them an opportunity to surrender. Tama po tayo doon. At kung meron kayong mapakita na gano'n ang ginawa, na sumusurrender, at hindi pinayagan sumurrender pero barel, i-charge natin ng murder yung mga pulis. Pero kung wala, at spekulasyon lang yon, kawawa naman po mga pulis. We are making conclusions because it is an emotional issue. I do not know the facts about the death of the professor in Ateneo. I hope to God, I pray to God, and if I can do anything to catch the killer, count me in. I am also an Atenean. I heard that there is an element of robbery. Kung rob out yan, kung extrajudicial killing yan, by all means. Pero the way it is being blended and weaved by the media and by some human rights group is as if ito'y utos ng Pangulo at ito'y gusto ng Pangulo. Ngayon na ang mga drug lords hindi na monopoly, hindi nagkakaisa, ngayon na sila nagpapatayan, sasabihin po natin na kasalanan to ng Presidente. You know, one peculiar statistic that I did not hear today is that there's a 13% drop in crime. So, if there are some critics who said, bakit naman umpisa pa lang hearing na sa extrajudicial killing? Because there are many people suffering. Bakit hindi muna tayo mag-hearing na itaas ang sweldo ng pulis? Ba't hindi mo tayo mag-hearing kung paano protektahan ng mga piskal para hindi sila at the mercy of drug lords at may additional allowance sila at kung kailangan nila ng equipment like bulletproof vest, kailangan nila yung opisina nila mas secure, ba't hindi yun ang una natin hearing?